This is CUNY TV, the City University of New York.
Hello, I'm Ronnie Eldridge. Welcome to Eldridge & Company. Finding breast cancer early is life-saving. Treating it can be life-affirming. My colleague at the station, Sara Porath, is a breast cancer survivor who discovered that faced with breast cancer suddenly, she did not wilt. Instead, Sara produced a documentary, I'm Not Alone, that shows how people on the CUNY campuses stand together to survive the disease. She and Hunter graduate and artist Wilhelmina Grant, who was also in the film, are my guests today, and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and do you know how long ago that started?
I don't know exactly. Yeah. I think around like when the pink ribbon really developed. I think maybe about 15 years ago.
And it's basically to tell people that you can help yourself, right? Be aware. You know it's there. I mean, I, as a woman, have always, whenever I had my regular mammogram, I was not surprised when they found a little bit of cancer. I just wasn't surprised. I kind of expected it. You were too young to expect it.
I was. Actually, I was 37 years old, and even though I kept up with all of my well-woman examinations, when a problem occurred, I was dismissed because of my age and because I didn't have a family history and because of being African American and because I had a painful lump. So all four of those things.
So they said it wasn't that nothing.
It. They said it was a cyst.
And how did you find out?
Just through a routine mammogram that I was going to cancel. I had too much to do that day.
How many mammograms had you had before?
I went regularly, but I really didn't feel like breast cancer would ever touch me. I mean, I really was...
That's interesting.
There was nothing in my family, and I ate I would say the anti-cancer diet, and I was also quite phobic about cancer. And although it's been 15 years that they've had all this breast cancer awareness month stuff, I never really looked at it. I mean, I was just like, I don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to be as far away from it as I could.
So then what did you do?
Well, when I found out, I was quite
really
shocked. And
did they tell you it was an early stage when they first saw it on a mammogram?
Yes, they told me it was early stage, and I felt like, they said, you know, they said to me, you have the good kind of cancer. So being told I have a good kind of cancer.
This is after a biopsy? Or,
It was after, let's see, no, mammogram. And I said, you know, being told I had a good kind of cancer.
How can you have a good kind of cancer, right?
It's like being told, you know, there's a good type of hurricane coming or a good kind of atomic bomb coming. It was still very frightening to me.
So what did you do?
Well, initially...
You went home?
Yeah.
And were you paralyzed for a while?
I really was, and which is not me. I'm very, very proactive, and I'm a television reporter and producer, and I go after things. So this is not my modus operandi at all. What I wanted to do was just to get over with as soon as possible. See the first breast surgeon I see, you know, and then go for lumpectomy and radiation. I just thought I wanted to be over with it in 6 weeks, which is that's not realistic either. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's a therapist too, and she said, you have to get a second opinion. I said, why have to get a second opinion? Well, you should talk to other people. I have to talk to other people. And I was really angry at her. And she said, talk to my friend who's going through the whole thing. Well, I didn't want to talk to a friend. I didn't want to talk to another doctor. I just wanted to just be over with it. And that started this whole journey that I realized I needed to learn more about what was going to happen, what was happening to me. I really need to be better educated. And I found there was a whole community of people, like a sorority, which I never knew about, a sorority of women that had been through it, that were going to be there for me in any way that I needed to. And I found there was also a huge community in CUNY that had been affected by it and that were doing things about it.
So, Wilhelmina, you were told just the opposite. Don't bother.
I was told that I probably had a complex cyst and that I could have it aspirated, get the fluid removed and keep going, or just ignore it because young women get cysts all the time. And I was angry, I was upset, and I had a lot of pain. And they said, well, they dismissed me and literally pat my hand and said, oh, it's not cancer, my dear, you're much too young. And if it's a painful lump, it can't be cancer. So I got a referral to another place, and I got a mammogram, a sonogram, and the radiologist did a needle biopsy, which back in '94 they didn't typically do. Yeah. So I was very lucky to have been in the hands of someone very responsible, and she followed through and made sure that everything was what it was, and I was diagnosed with a good kind as well. I had infiltrating ductal carcinoma, stage 2A, but when I say a good kind of cancer, there are kinds that are like Paget's disease that appear on the skin that are very difficult to treat, and they're very forceful. And then other kinds like triple negative, which I don't know that much about, but those kinds of cancers are very hard to treat.
And the fast-growing ones.
Fast-growing, exactly.
So how did the two of you meet?
Well, that's a very good question. This whole thing set me on this journey of knowing that I need to reach out and find out what was happening. And the first thing I learned is that making strides, against cancer, breast cancer was coming up. It was a walk that I'd always heard about, but I would never have participated in. And I saw that there were 15 CUNY teams involved with it. I'm going like, why are so many CUNY teams? I mean,
that's so interesting.
So I decided, look, let me cover it. So it was a very cold and rainy day. I had just started my radiation. I'm thinking like, how am I ever going to? It was like the worst day possible. And I was also thinking like no one's going to show up. It turns out there were thousands of people, even though it was raining. And then you just have to see one of these breast cancer walks. So it's very, very uplifting. And I was just shocked to see the number of people and the amount of hope that everyone had, and people were very, very happy. And I went into the survivor's tent, and I talked to one of my cameramen. I said, we need to find some people here that went to CUNY. And since a lot of people have gone to CUNY, I thought we'd find some survivors. And my cameraman called me over, and I met Willhelmina.
So you knew when you went to the march that you wanted to do a film, a documentary?
Yes, but I was not going to put myself in it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
At all.
And so with the CUNY campuses, what are they doing? I mean, how did they have so many groups there?
Each one decides on their own. They decide to have a team, and then they sign up. And
how do you think it all starts? Is it with somebody who has survived?
Yes, I think so. Or maybe there is someone who
a relative.
Right, or there is maybe someone from the wellness centers or the women's center who's championing it.
In your film, you have a man who works for CUNY. What campus is he on?
He was the head of student affairs at Baruch College, and actually he started the Baruch effort in making strides, and it's his wife,
who had the cancer.
And he makes a point, which I want to make also in the documentary. It doesn't just affect you; it affects everyone in the family.
Willhelmina, so you were picked out, right?
Well, I was there with my art exhibition. I had started doing art that depicts different things about breast cancer awareness, and I brought a portion of that to show in the survivors tent, and some card invitations to one of my exhibitions, and it worked out well. People received it very well, and the main idea of doing art that focuses on breast cancer awareness is to bring people in to see the art exhibition, but yet also give awareness, have an awareness opportunity to tell people where to go get a mammogram, to let women know it's okay, that survivorship is possible if it's detected early, and use myself as an example, and have a good time in the process.
So having been a survivor, it makes you a little bit of an advocate, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. From the very beginning, I had to advocate for myself even to get diagnosed because I was dismissed.
That's true. I
was dissed and dismissed.
And then you had another cancer.
I did. 7 years later, I had ductal carcinoma in situ. They call it DCIS, and it was stage 0. It had not begun to spread, so it was.
So this was not the first cancer spreading. This was its own.
This was a different cancer, same breast, but I was being followed every 6 months by mammogram because something was changing. So rather than a year, every 6 months, and then it turned up that I needed to have a biopsy, and then the decision was mine to have the mastectomy because I didn't want to keep going back and just keep having them remove the small microcalcifications. I decided just get the mastectomy and be done with it.
So joining all these groups and doing all this kind of work, the support is so important, isn't it?
It really, as I said before, I really felt I entered this sorority. Just like, although I never was part of a sorority, but this is what I think a sorority is like. I mean, all of a sudden, you know, you enter this group, and they all feel like, you know, you're part of this friendship, and they're there for you no matter what. I mean, I talked to people that I didn't know. They were friends of friends, you know, and I call them up, and they're willing to be on the phone as long as I need. And it's really important because there's so many decisions that you need to make. You need to, I mean, from the beginning of, you know, which breast cancer surgeon should you go to? If you have children, what do you tell your children? And then all the different kinds of treatments. And it's really helpful being able to talk to other people. And guess what? There's a whole sorority of people that are really open and willing and helpful in it.
So tell me some of the projects on the campuses, because it's not only people who have breast cancer. It's mainly to help to be sure that you could do self-examinations and things like that, so you do everything you can to find
exactly.
it
One of the things I was so taken by is I learned that they have breast cancer, breast self-examination workshops on many of the CUNY campuses. So I actually visited one, and I was just shocked. Just first of all, it was at Bureau Manhattan Community College's lobby, one of the floors, and it's one of the biggest areas. And there were hundreds of people there. There were women, there were young women and young men, and they had tables, and each table had a different thing. But one of the tables actually had they had like latex breasts, and they also had small ones where you could actually feel lumps. And they taught you how to do breast self-examinations, and then you could actually see a nurse one-on-one and do it with her and make sure that you were doing the right one. And why I was really taken by it, because I never did it. I mean, I did mammograms, but I never did it.
How did you not know that you were supposed to do that? Or did you know you were supposed to do that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but you just didn't bother because you weren't going to get it.
And also, I was scared I was going to get it.
Oh.
Most women do not. Most people, a lot of women know how to do it, but they don't do it. And I actually thought that once I had breast cancer, you know, once you have it, you're checked all the time. I wouldn't have to do it anymore. But guess what? My doctor says I still have to do it.
Yeah. I remember once years ago, I think it was almost 10 years ago, or maybe 8, of visiting a program that went to beauty hairdressers. And we were in Brooklyn at a beauty parlor, and they came in with a model, and they were teaching people how to do their own self-examination. It was very interesting because any place you find women congregated, so the CUNY campuses have such an opportunity there. But they also have a problem because the younger people aren't getting mammograms, right? So
but it's important for them to have
it seems to me from just hearing and everything, I have no figures or statistics, that more and more young people are discovering breast cancer. No?
That's true.
Have you found that out?
I don't know about that, but I know that because you're not supposed to be having mammograms until 40, unless there is breast cancer, that the best way of protecting yourself is through breast self-examinations. And for a lot of these women, if you see the documentary,
only way, I guess.
Yeah, it is life-changing for them to go through and really learn how to do it.
Right.
But the main thing as well is to know one's body, to know if there are any changes, and then have that followed up by a medical professional. Because that's what happened with me. I knew something was different, and I knew something was not exactly right. And I didn't think it was cancer, but I didn't know what it was, but it had to be stopped because I was in pain. So I think that's the important thing, to have self-knowledge and then follow up, advocate for oneself.
So how many times a year do you still go and have mammograms?
Right now I'm on a every 6-month checkup, yes.
And did you do just radiation, or did you do?
I did heavy dose chemotherapy. I did radiation, followed by tamoxifen for a number of years, and yes.
So now and you did?
I had a lumpectomy, and I actually had a second one because I had to go back in and take a little bit more out. and then I had radiation, but I was lucky because they usually do radiation, I think 5 to 7 weeks. I was put on a special trial for 3 weeks. And again, it was left up to me whether I would do it, could do it, and I had to do a lot of research. I think one of the things I want to say is that you still have to advocate for yourself. You still have to know. Yeah. And I looked at all the research and I decided to do it. And
yeah, I did it in 1 week. At NYU,
wow.
Is that where you were?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, wow.
Those protocols are really fabulous, except now you hear about the danger of the technical details of these machines. And you remember, anyway, let's not even go there. But the CUNY campuses are not the only places that you're working and doing things, right? And the two of you are in a project? Are you? No, you tell us about your project.
My project, I'm in a number of projects.
Yeah.
Right now I'm working as an artist in residence for the Creative Center, and they have artists placed in the healthcare setting all over New York City, in city hospitals, in private hospitals, in nursing homes, in hospice. And what we do is engage the patients and their companions in an artistic experience while they wait for their doctor's appointment in the clinic or while they're in the infusion suite getting their chemo.
And the project is called?
The Creative Center.
And it's a nonprofit?
It is, it is.
By itself, or is it affiliated with something?
It's been in existence for about 19 years, and they train artists to do just that, give the patient and their companions in the hospital or healthcare setting a distraction from what's going on. And after the patient is finished treatment, then they're invited to come and take classes, free classes at the Creative Center.
So what do you do?
I am an artist in residence, so I provide that experience for the patient and for their companions. And I come with my art cart and I roll into the infusion suite and give them a project to work on that they can finish in a number of minutes or a couple of hours if they're in the infusion suite getting their chemo.
That's fabulous. And what hospital are you working at?
Woodhull.
In Woodhull. That's fabulous. And it's such a long time that you sit in an infusion suite.
Exactly. So it gives them the opportunity to discover their artistic talent or ability. It gives them an opportunity to develop creativity. And I actually found that when I was on chemo, it helped if I was doing some writing or doing some doodling, and it's a very, very valuable thing to do while one is in that setting, and it just sort of takes you out of yourself and you can discover something that you didn't know you could do.
That's great. And what about you?
Well, the reason why I did the documentary is so that to give people hope, because I didn't have a lot of hope when I started, and to help people out in the way that other people helped me out. And I really wanted to promote not just breast cancer awareness, but also breast health awareness. And this documentary has been airing on CUNY TV. You can see it on the website. But I also wanted to screen it for different groups, so I could encourage breast self-examination, encourage having a control over your body, awareness about breast cancer. So I've been doing a number of screenings, and we've been doing some co-presentation, and we just did one at Medgar Evers College with students, and again there were women and men students. Very interesting last week. We're going to be doing it for SHARE, which is a self-help group for women with ovarian and breast cancer.
Terrific group.
And then we're going to talk about we're going to be.
But those are women who've already had cancer.
Right, right.
So what you really need to do is to go to places where you find a lot of women who haven't had
And that's what I do with my other project.
Oh,
I developed I'm doing a small grassroots effort called Sista. It's SISTAAH, and it stands for Survivors Inspiring Sisters Through Art and Advocacy for Health. As I use my art to bring people in to see an art exhibition, and at the same time provide information on early detection, and give them an information card as to where they can go and get a mammogram for free if they don't have those resources, and for women who already know about it and who are not doing it, to encourage them to go ahead and do it. And then I have another component of the art exhibition that shows various aspects of breast cancer advocacy, and I dedicate some of my work to memorial, because not everybody does survive this experience, but we remember them and we learn by what they've gone through. And actually I can admit to 2 women that came through my exhibition, got the message, got a mammogram, and were diagnosed, and they're well. So
that makes you feel wonderful,
yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely.
And is this in your studio?
Yes. Well, I've moved around to different locations throughout Harlem. I've been at the Public Library. I've been at the Harlem State Office Building, and this time it's going to be in the Art Gallery where I keep my studio. But I've had 10 solo exhibitions. There are 50 plus pieces of three-dimensional assemblage art in my exhibition. And I'm also doing a survivorship celebration because we don't have so much of a survivorship of cancer that we talk about in my community. So I've developed a celebration, a party, a big celebration where all of the survivors of any kind of cancer, men and women, come together and stand up and say, yes, I've had cancer for this many years, that many years, and I'm fine. I detected it early, I got through it, and it's to bring it out and put it on the table, bring it out into the open. We don't call it the big C anymore. That's so yesterday.
What do you think of that television series? What is it called?
I think it's called Big C. I have not seen it.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't seen it either. I thought you meant Survivor. It's like, they're not survivors.
Oh, no,
this
no,
is survivorship.
No. But I remember when I was young, and if somebody had cancer, they never mentioned the word.
Exactly.
Right? It was just always, and that was the end of it. There was very little hope once diagnosed with it.
And we're here to bring that out and change that and make people know that it's okay. It's not a death sentence.
It's wonderful also that you include other cancer survivors.
Exactly, because they're there, and we just want to make awareness all around.
And we must add, too, that men also can have breast cancer.
Exactly.
Is it advocated that they do the same self-awareness kind of thing?
I know that at this breast self-examination workshop they had on one of the CUNY campuses, they had something for men too. Absolutely, it was really fantastic.
Right.
The other thing I learned, and this through doing the documentary, is that the amount of research that's being done in CUNY, I was really shocked. Almost every single CUNY campus is doing some kind of breast cancer research in a range of disciplines, from environmental sciences to psychology to biology and physics. So I was able to talk to all these people, and I learned a lot from them.
Yeah, tell us a little bit, tell us more.
Well, for example, on City College campus, the physics department is doing a project with Sloan Kettering, a Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital, in which they're looking at using near-infrared light to diagnose lumps in the breast instead of using the painful mammograms. And not just to diagnose whether or not you have a cancer, but also to just through a light pointing to your through your breast, but also to diagnose what kind of cancer you have. So
don't say a mammogram is painful, because it's uncomfortable and just for a few minutes. I mean, we don't want to discourage anybody because we're saying it's painful, right?
I totally agree with
I don't mean to correct you.
No, I'm glad you said that.
I have a piece of art about that too.
Oh, good. And then tell me about another campus. What are they doing?
Another campus.
Baruch does that.
Let's see, Staten Island. Their environmental sciences department is looking at why Staten Island is the borough that has the highest rate of breast cancer mortality out of all the other boroughs.
Does it match that supposedly in Long Island? Isn't that supposed to be a center of concentration also? I think so, yeah.
So, and then there's a psychology professor who's looking at, how survivors cope with their cancer afterwards. And then we have Jill Barganetti, who's like a world famous breast cancer scientist who got a very well-known grant from the Breast Cancer Research Foundation on her work. She's at Hunter, and she's looking at the molecular biology of cancer. So there's a lot happening, and that was very helpful for me to see that I wasn't in the dark ages anymore in terms of breast cancer, that there are breast cancer advances happening every single day, and that's why we really should be advocating, because it really makes a difference.
It's so interesting. So can you get into like pediatricians' clinics or something and they could play your film?
I would love to do that.
I mean, some of the hospital waiting rooms, there's so many people waiting for so long. I shouldn't say that, but they are. So I want a little bit more description of some of the artwork. It's basically collage?
They're mostly mixed media assemblage. One of my signature pieces is called Many Woman, and I took some found objects, a greater like the kind you use in the kitchen. I made that as the body. I made feet out of 2 forks, and then one of the salad knives are the arms, and then the head is a strainer. And then people can read into that whatever they see. This woman is drained and strained, and she's at attention, and she's always on point, and she's not taking care of herself. Many women don't do the early detection thing. So my art always has a message, and that's my signature piece that's been all around the world.
Where is your studio?
It's on 5th Avenue and 141st Street, a place called Workspace Harlem.
And it's a place that was a building that was converted, so it's a lot of
It's a
different
converted
artists.
school inside a warehouse that also serves as a storage facility on the other side. But on the front side, on 5th Avenue, it's about 100 art studios.
Who had that wonderful idea?
Well, it was a long time coming.
I'm sure it was.
Why don't you talk about that print? I was really taken by that print you did of your breasts.
Which print was that?
That-
The one with the ink?
Yes,
with the paint, with the
I was
acrylic?
really taken by that one.
Well, I wanted to do something different and unique. I took acrylic paint and painted my body, and I put some paper and I laid down on it. When I pulled it off, I had an imprint of my breasts. And I kept doing like a print. I did it 4 times, and I named each print something different. And the first one I named Girl Talk. And it shows a print of one breast with a nipple, and then the other side with just a little collage-y looking blob or something. And it's called My Girl, Girl Talk, because women refer to their breasts as my girls. And the girls were talking, I miss you, and the other one saying, I miss you too. And
well, I'm glad I haven't missed you, and we're already at the end of the program. So it's fascinating to see the advocate you've become. And that's so helpful and great to the community, and you're such a model of how to cope with stuff and go on and do creative, beautiful things. And I thank you both very much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
If there are any people you'd like to hear and topics you'd like us to explore, please let me know. You can write to me at CUNY TV, 365 5th Avenue, New York, New York, 10016, or you can go to the website at cuny.tv and click on Contact Us. I look forward to hearing from you.